So I found an interesting post when it comes to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and what's happening on the emulation scene overall. I know that that's something that's a little bit of a sensitive topic depending on who you're talking to or when you're talking about something overall when it comes to supporting the developers and other things like that. So it's whatever on that front. I'm not here to argue or not argue on that, but what's interesting is that I do think that this might be the end of the line when it comes to Nintendo and their big games and people hacking them or emulating them or ROM dumping them or whatever the case is when it comes to big titles with the Nintendo Switch 2, because Nintendo doesn't seemingly have any other massive big AAA games set for the Nintendo Switch 1 that they've already revealed, and they already stated that they have pretty much moved on from Switch 1 development and are moving to Switch 2 development. There is Tomodachi Life and there is Rhythm Heaven, but those aren't big games like Metroid Prime 4 or like Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment or Kirby Air Riders or Pokemon Legends ZA or some of these other big games, some of them which is launched on Switch 1, and of course games that are launching on Switch 2. So it got me thinking a bit because there was a post on Twitter that talked about how it seems like Metroid Prime 4 Beyond doesn't work on Nintendo Switch emulators. Looks like there's some type of issue with the audio emulation. Maybe that's already been fixed at this point, but it does seem like it works on like unlocked or hacked Nintendo Switch 1s. So there's still that overall with ROM dumping. You have to get the game or maybe dump it. I'm not sure how all of that stuff works, but either way, the emulation when it comes to the emulators that people have downloaded seems like it's not working. But it's interesting because this thing, when it comes to this whole emulation stuff, that was a huge problem, at least how Nintendo sees it, on the Nintendo Switch 1, people getting games super early, them being on the internet, and all of that stuff. It looks like Nintendo did some type of crazy stuff with the Nintendo Switch 2, because we are 6 months in at this point from the release, and there is nothing on Nintendo Switch 2 games, and it does seem like it's going to be that way for a while, as one group working on Nintendo Switch 2 emulation states that it's going to be a very long time before they can even get any work done. Now, maybe they're just saying that to keep Nintendo off their tail. Maybe they have some breakthroughs or some stuff that is being worked on in the background. Maybe there's another group that's working in complete silence because they saw what happened with Nintendo Switch 1. But when it comes to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, kind of getting back to the core issue or the game itself, this is the last one that people are going to look out there and say, okay, I'm going to go out there and pick up. It's exciting for a big AAA title. Because like I said, Rhythm Heaven and Tomodachi Life quite aren't those type of games. The people that are into those type of games are probably just going to go out there and buy them anyway overall. So it's just interesting to see, and we'll see how it develops when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2. Because I haven't really talked about this too much on any of my regular edited videos, but I have discussed it on my live stream. So what do you guys think overall about this? Are you surprised that the Nintendo Switch 2 still has not been hacked yet at this point compared to how it was hacked like frame 1 on the Nintendo Switch 1? Nintendo did get it fixed quickly with firmware, but there's still a lot of systems that can do it. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think that some breakthroughs are going to happen in 2026? Do you think that it's not going to happen because of how Nintendo built the security with the Switch 2? I'm kind of leaning more towards that because it seems like Nintendo did some crazy stuff from what I've read, but I'm not technologically knowledgeable enough to kind of break down and go through everything here with you guys. Plus, I don't even feel like doing that. I'm not really into it too much. I just like to go buy my physical game, put it into my system, and play. But yeah, what do you guys think about this when it comes to Metroid Prime 4? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, before we get to the next topic, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. And let me know what you think about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond if you're playing it at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into this next thing here. We're going to talk about Metroid Prime 4 version 1.1.0 is available. So if you are playing the game or if you're going to get it, make sure you download the update because the update's actually pretty nice. Gives you the ability to use Amiibo on the Amiibo page in the pause menu. Also, the controller now vibrates during cinematics, so that's actually a nice little touch too. On the Nintendo Switch 2, at least, when you start up Metroid Prime 4 Beyond on Nintendo Switch 2, a Switch 2 edition option will now appear in the menu after the title screen. Selecting this option will take you to the upgrade path page on the Nintendo eShop. So I guess if you're playing it on Nintendo Switch 1, not Nintendo Switch 2, sorry about that. Now, the rating information for the rating system class in Brazil has been updated to 12 to 14. The condition for unlocking some movies in the gallery has been changed from achieving 100% item recovery rate to clearing the game. Okay, that's pretty nice because there is an amiibo that just does that for you, but now you just clear the game and you can get all of that. In the hard mode difficulty, some of the enemies have been adjusted as well. So, were they too hard? Were they too easy on the hard mode? I'm guessing maybe they're a bit too difficult. Not really sure what's going on there. Maybe too cheap on some of the things. Either way, don't know because I didn't get a chance to play it beforehand overall. So additionally, we have made some adjustments and fixes to improve your gameplay experience. So I'm wondering if they actually did anything there to help stabilize things. I mean, the game is already super stable overall. It runs at 60 FPS. It runs at 120 FPS in the performance mode, but there are just some slight, and I mean slight overall dips based off of what Digital Foundry talked about, and that is in the desert areas overall. So maybe there was something there, but probably not. Usually when it's stuff like this, it's maybe like little weird crazy bugs that you wouldn't run into unless you were trying to run into something or just completely by accident. So that's what I'm guessing most of that is, but most people probably won't even be able to feel those dips overall when it comes down to it because it's so slight. Otherwise, in all of the dungeon or Metroid Prime-ish areas that you're used to, when it comes down to it, it runs flawless overall. Also, one more thing that I kind of want to add in here, the HDR implementation apparently is incredible on the TV portable mode. Not quite so much because of the Nintendo Switch 2 screen, but on the TV, if you have a good HDR TV, apparently Digital Foundry is swearing by it's the greatest thing ever when it comes down to it, and it's well implemented. And remember, this game has two different modes overall. It has a performance mode where you can play at 120 FPS at 1080p docked, and if it's portable, you're going to get 720p 120 FPS. But then you can also play at a quality mode where you can get 4K resolution and 60 frames per second overall as well. So some nice options there. Now, if you want to know all the details on that, once again, Digital Foundry, they did the breakdown. It's kind of weird with some of the 4K or 1440p elements in the 4K mode and stuff. But either way, it looks good. Whether you want to play it on the performance mode and get the 120 FPS, or you want to play it on the 4K mode and get the 60 FPS. Although they did state that if you're playing with the mouse controls, the 120 FPS is better because it's smoother just moving that mouse at 120 FPS on there. So there is that option, and that's awesome because it's good that Nintendo is offering a lot of customization and options for this type of game. So what do you guys think about this when it comes to this first patch for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? I'm guessing there's not going to be a ton of new content or other things added to this game via patches or anything like that. I think it's pretty much a complete experience for what they're going for, and we'll see what happens in the future when it comes to Metroid Prime. So what do you guys think? You can let me know in the comment section below. But now we are going to move on to another Metroid Prime 4 topic because a lot of different people worked on this game overall. Now we know that Retro Studios was the main developers behind this game. You're going to get most of the people working on this, Nintendo, Retro Studios, that's it. But there are sometimes some support studios that come in and help out with a few things, whether it's big or small, we really don't know. We have to look at the credits and maybe see how many people, but I'm guessing there's going to be some issues even with that. But apparently, all of these companies here had some type of help or did something with Metroid Prime 4. Obviously, Retro Studios, Next Level Games, Virtuos, Territory Studio, Waterproof, Keyword Studio, Liquid Development, Volta, AMC Studio, Game Sim, Smoking Gun Interactive, Forge Studios, Red Hot CG, Original Force, Devoted Studios, Room 8 Studio, Next Gen Dreams, Mock Science, Cup of Tea, Formosa Interactive, House of Moves. So I have no idea who more than half of those are at all. I'm guessing it's probably like with sound or cinematics or motion capture or different types of stuff, maybe voice acting talent. I'm not really sure who all of these companies are. I mean, I know some of them, when it comes down to like Virtuals, they were an incredible port studio on the Nintendo Switch 1 and continue to do great work on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and the Nintendo Switch. And pretty sure, obviously, they're going to have Switch 2 stuff coming up or already out as well. So I know what some of them are, but a lot of these other people, it's kind of crazy. Next Level Games, another Nintendo-owned studio as well. They do Luigi's Mansion. They helped out, and they've actually worked on a Metroid Prime game before. They did Metroid Prime Federation Force overall. No, it's not the most beloved game out there, but they still have some work on a Metroid Prime game. So I'm guessing they did some consulting or some work or something. I'm pretty sure Next Level Games is working on their next masterpiece when it comes to Luigi's Mansion, at least what most of the team is working on there. So yeah, a lot of studios, a lot of work put it in. People are playing it, enjoying it, having fun. By the time that you're watching this video, I'm probably going to be playing myself or getting very close to playing as well. I'm going to have a full breakdown, analysis, and everything. I'm going to be playing the heck out of the game, capturing footage, and giving you guys my first impressions and thoughts as I head through Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So what do you guys think about this when it comes to the amount of studios that helped out here with Retro Studios and Nintendo on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? Let me know in the comment section below. But now we are going to move on to the last topic here, and that is a very interesting topic from Matt Piscatella talking about the US best-selling hardware SKU for the week ending on November 22nd, 2025. So pretty good to see some stuff. Now, obviously not quite Black Friday sales overall, because Thanksgiving, then Black Friday's after that, but it does seem like Nintendo Switch 2 had a strong week leading up into the Black Friday sales. And what we do know with Amazon and with Walmart, that they took $50 off of that system overall. So the sales were pretty good based on what we can see so far on those websites or those retailers. Now on this list here, it's very interesting. Matt Piscatella says US hardware overall, and number 1 was Switch 2 Mario Kart World Bundle. Okay, number 3 was the PlayStation 5 Slim Digital Edition 1TB, but number 2 was the NEX Playground Interactive Gaming System. So that is something that I never heard about, but apparently it's some type of little cube that has a camera that you can play interactive games, almost like a Kinect, but maybe a little bit better or something like that. I mean, it costs $250, but it does come with stuff like Fruit Ninja and other types of like whack-a-mole games and things. It seems like people are picking that up as well. Now, I don't think it's going to sell better than the PlayStation 5 overall, because it's just one SKU. And of course, Sony has those sales that were going on, that $100 off, and this doesn't include all of the days of that. So I do think that the PS5 probably did better overall, and we'll see what the Nintendo Switch did when it comes to the Black Friday shopping period and shortly after Cyber Monday. There's still even some $50 off sales from what I saw last on Amazon and even Walmart. So we'll see how it does there with the next Circana reporting and all of that. But yeah, interesting to note when it comes to that different game system. The Kinect is back in some type of way, and of course PlayStation, Nintendo doing well too. So what do you guys think overall about everything that we discussed here? A lot of different topics, a lot of things that we went over. Let me know in the comment section below. All right guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.